Okay, let's get this cavity filled.
Doctor, I think your tank is leaking laughing gas.
Gas? Did you hear you can save on gas at BJ's Wholesale Club?
Wait, you can save on gas at BJ's?
Yeah, members save on everyday low gas prices.
You gotta be kidding me.
Nope, these savings are no joke.
BJ's, absurdly simple savings. Shop today. Not a member? Go to bjs.com/simple savings.
Local news, national news, even feel-good news, delivering the topics that are relevant to you.
That's why I listen to Joe. He covers it all.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
My name is not Joe Kelley. It is Laurel Lee. I am in for Joe today. Good evening to you all. We are going to cover a ton of topics today. Everything from Hunter Biden, the federal charges handed down to him, to a submarine that has disappeared with 5 souls aboard. But right now, we're going to talk about President Trump and the latest in his cases against him. To help me out with that, we're going to turn to Channel 9 Eyewitness News, Christopher Heath. Good evening, Chris. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good to talk to you, Laurel.
Good. I was telling everybody on our live stream about how they should follow you because you're an avid runner and you have very cute dogs.
I do. Well, yes. I can only take credit for the running. The dogs were picked out by my sons. They picked out Lando a couple years back, and then Rex about a year ago. So they've got the eye for adoptable dogs. So yes.
Oh, well, fantastic. Whoever picked them, they are worth the follow for sure. So let's talk President Trump. You have an update in the case against former President Trump and the classified documents. A judge has now set a date for Trump's preliminary trial, and it's really soon.
It is, but to read through this order from Judge Eileen Cannon, you kind of get the feeling based on it that this is just kind of putting both the defense and the prosecution on notice that, we'd like to get this thing started on the 14th. My sense of this, given the complexity of this case, both in the charges that are laid out in the indictment, as well as the fact that we're going to have a way for a jury to look at sensitive documents that they're not going to be cleared to look at. I think there's still a lot of moving pieces. My sense of reading this and kind of following the way federal courts work, especially in complex cases like this, the 14th is kind of a starting line. I get the impression reading through this, we're probably looking at much later in the year.
Right, because Trump's legal team has a challenge on their hands with all the emails and the text messages and testimony from the witnesses. So everybody's saying that there's a good chance that though they've given this August date, is actually the date's going to be pushed back, way further back, correct?
Yeah, because, what you're going to have is both sides are going to come forward and say, well, we need more time to depose these witnesses or to review this information. And so the 14th is kind of like, okay, if nothing changes between now and the 14th, we're going to start the trial on the 14th. But things always seem to change before then. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're headed.
Meanwhile, President Trump, in an interview with Fox News yesterday, says the National Archives needed to ask, in his words, please, 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 in order to get the classified documents back, and added the officials should have just asked, could we have them back? But the archives, Chris, are saying, well, you shouldn't have had them in the first place.
Yeah, and I would tell you this. You're going to see two kinds of things come out during this case, and this holds true with pretty much any case that's in the public eye. You're going to hear the people involved in it say things publicly, either in press conferences or in interviews or in news reports. I would discount all of that. Take a look at whatever gets filed, because what you're filing, if you're an attorney representing either the United States or you're representing your client, who in this case is the former president of the United States, you're not going to put anything in a filing that you can't back up, that you don't stand behind. So while people may go on TV and say things, especially people involved in the case, it's one thing to say it in an interview. It's another thing to write it down on paper. I can't imagine his attorneys are going to file anything in the federal court system that says these charges should be dismissed because the National Archives didn't say please 3 times.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Christopher Heath, one of the smartest guys I know. He's going to help keep us updated with President Trump's case as it goes
Appreciate
on.
it.
You have a good day, man. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Meanwhile, President Trump saying that he didn't even want to hand over the boxes of the classified government documents despite getting a subpoena. In a new interview, the president admitted that he intentionally defied the grand jury subpoena so he could go through the boxes later. Now, there's a new poll out by CNN that shows that Trump is still leading the Republican presidential primary field for 2024. 47% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents say they support Trump for the GOP nomination, down from 53% who say said the same last month. So that's actually a little bit of a dip, 53% last month and now 47%. Still, those who back Trump, back him hard. So we'll have to follow how his following goes up or down as this case goes on. We're going to talk about Hunter Biden and the federal charges against him in just a minute. But I also wanted to touch on this. I know many of our listeners are gun owners and are big supporters of the Second Amendment. So there's a new bill from Democratic Congresswoman Rashid Tlaib is proposing legislation that would require firearm dealers to try to sell a gun lock for every gun purchase made. Tlaib says that the Safe Storage Saves Lives Act will prevent accidental shootings. The proposed legislation makes it a requirement that a gun seller have a compatible gun lock available for every firearm for sale, and states that it shall be unlawful for any person to offer a firearm for sale unless the person offers for sale a secure gun storage or safety device that is compatible with the firearm. Violators would face a penalty of no more than $1,000. Tlaib said it's horrifying that 4.6 million children in our country live in homes with a loaded and unlocked firearm. So my question to you is that a good compromise, or is that just way stepping over the line again? A lot of these Democrats want to put bans on guns entirely, while she's coming out and saying, okay, I'm not going to ban the guns entirely, but I'm going to make sure that you have a lock for that gun. And if you're not using the lock, you could be fined $1,000. Is that too much, or is that just the right amount of compromise? What do you think? Sound off in our open mic portion of our WDBO app. You need to have that WDBO app downloaded to your phone, and then you can tap the open mic button there in the WDBO app, and you can talk to me so we can hear you. You can discuss some things with me. Coming up, we're going to talk to our reporter, Nicole Diaz, and she's going to tell us about those charges that Hunter Biden is facing. We're going to go in depth on that topic. More coming up here on the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
It's Jeep 4x4 season. Make your next adventure epic and hurry in now for great deals. And now, well-qualified lessees get a low-mileage lease on the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE for $389 a month for 24 months with $5,399 due at signing. Tax, title, license extra. No security deposit required. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires dealer contribution, a lease request, or capital. Extra charge for miles over 20,000. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 5/31/23. Jeep is a registered trademark.
Tomorrow morning.
Hunter Biden will plead guilty to tax charges and a gun charge in a plea deal with the feds. According to the agreement, the president's son will plead guilty to a pair of misdemeanor tax charges involving about $1 million in unpaid taxes several years ago.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk.
Welcome back. This is the Joe Kelley Show. I am Laurel Lee in for Joe Kelley today. And we're talking about all kinds of juicy stuff. We're talking about President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and the federal charges against him. We're talking about former President Trump and how they've slotted a date for his trial finally for the way he handled those classified documents. We're going to talk about that submarine. You've probably seen it everywhere, right? If you even scrolled through social media, you've seen something about that submarine. But we're going to really break down the details of that, and maybe have some stuff you haven't heard about it so far. I studied a lot about it today. But firstly, I am joined in studio by our reporter, Nicole Diaz, who's going to break down this stuff with Hunter Biden. And honestly, Nicole, when we started talking about this, a lot of us were like, I don't understand this quite. Do you understand that? And we're like, oh, hold on. We've got to sit down and read these details. So let's start out with the basics. First, tell me, what exactly is Hunter Biden being charged with? Go ahead.
He was charged with...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. And so he was charged with 2 tax-related...
Hold on. Your mic is being funny, I think. Can you hear yourself? No, I cannot. Oh, okay. Well, why don't you come over here to my side? Technical difficulties, people. Sorry about that. But, okay, now that we've got it, go ahead and tell me exactly what's going on.
So he has pled guilty to 2 tax-related misdemeanors. Those charges, the tax charges, are from him failing to pay his income tax in 2017 and 2018. Because he pled this, he went into a guilty plea. Prosecutors are going to push for probation instead of jail time. That tax crime, part of that tax crime was not missing, reporting or not reporting money that he was getting from overseas. That was not included in the in the guilty plea. He also entered a deferred prosecution program for a 1 felony gun possession charge. But that is a charge that could possibly be dropped by prosecutors. A judge still needs to sign off on this plea agreement, so it could change. But for now, that's what he's got.
Okay, so one is a gun charge, one is a tax charge. So that gun charge might go away because he owned a gun while he had illicit drugs, and he owned a gun, and you can't do both of those at the same time. So meanwhile, of course, people immediately go to President Biden and the First Lady, and they say, "Hi, your son, federal charges. What's going on?" So what has President Biden and the First Lady said about this?
So a White House spokesperson has said that the president and the first lady love their son and they support him as he continues to try to rebuild from his drug addiction and so on. They haven't had any other comments other than that.
So where do we go from here then?
From a legal standpoint, this is pretty much over with. He's entered a plea. The judge is more than likely to accept this plea. If not, there'll be a little bit more back and forth, but it's pretty much wrapped up from a legal standpoint. Of course, now we're going to start seeing the politics kind of unravel from this, and that'll take its turn in the news cycle. But from a legal standpoint, this is pretty much wrapped up.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. That was Nicole Diaz with the latest on that Hunter Biden federal charges. Now that he's pled, it's just a wait and see game. We got to see when they set the trial date, and we're going to keep you updated here on WDBO. We were talking about President Trump and the court date for him as well. And I mentioned that a new poll shows that support for President Trump is down slightly. It went from 53% last month who supported President Trump as the frontrunner for the Republican presidential primary field nomination. It's now down to 47%. And we had somebody leave an open mic about that. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Here's the correct one.
Hey, it's Josh from Orlando. I think it's hilarious when the news talks about these polls and stuff. No one's ever asked me anything about it. And no one's ever asked anybody I know. So I have no clue where they're getting this data. I don't think anybody does.
That's funny you say that, because the last time we brought up a poll, somebody told Joe the same thing. And then as soon as he was done talking about that, a pollster reached out to his phone. It was totally random. A pollster reached out to his phone and said, "Hey, would you like to take a poll on whatever, politics this, politics that?" And so he ended up interviewing that gentleman for a while, and we learned some great stuff about the polls. For what it's worth, I, too, have never been asked about a political poll, so I don't have any insight on that as well. So you're not alone in that you have never been asked, because I haven't been asked either. We also were talking about a proposed bill that would push gun locks. Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib is proposing legislation that would require firearm dealers to try to sell a gun lock with every gun purchase made. Now, I said that, and then I went into our stream, and Chris and Karen, all my friends in the stream there on our Facebook, WDBO Facebook, said, "Well, my gun came with a lock. My gun came with a lock." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Because mine didn't. I don't think either time I've bought a gun, it came with a lock." But then we got all these open mics.
Most of the new Glock model guns that I've always purchased have a gun lock included in the box from the manufacturer. It's one thing to have the lock. It's another thing for the people to actually use them.
And she's absolutely right. And they're saying that if you have that lock and you don't use it, you could face a penalty of up to $1,000. So if you have the lock, you're meant to use it. We also got this open mic.
Regarding the gun locks, every firearm that I have ever purchased for the past 20 years has come new with a gun lock. I'm not sure why this is so new and upsetting.
So that said, with him and now everybody in the stream, I feel like I'm the one misremembering. Maybe my guns did come with locks and I just either didn't take a close enough look or I'm special. I don't know which one. I might be special in a couple ways. I'm not really sure. Maybe I should go home and take a closer look at my gun. Because honestly, I took them out and I threw them in a safe and I never actually, maybe I'm the bad one here. Let's listen to this open mic.
On the gun issue, I don't believe they should be able to regulate any of that. The real simple thing is make it to where when a firearm is stolen, if you can't prove you had it locked up, well, then you're liable for what happened with that firearm.
Yeah, that's a good idea as well. And, This seems to be a compromise in the gun rights issues. We know that for a long time, this has been a fight, right? People on the left want to get rid of guns, or they want to put heavy restrictions on guns, while people on the far right say there should be absolutely no restrictions on guns. And there's a lot of us in the middle that are like, well, what kind of compromises can we come to? So I think that's what Congresswoman Tlaib is trying to find, is some kind of middle ground. But now y'all are saying that all the guns come with locks anyway, so how is this new? I don't know. We're going to have to figure that out for sure. Meanwhile, let's turn to this case of the missing submarine. This is the top trending story everywhere. It is on everybody's minds and every news station I've turned on today. It's called the Titan, and it is missing with 5 souls aboard. This is a submersible that is completely experimental, so keep that in mind. Crews have less than 48 hours now to find a missing vessel used to explore the Titanic. The U.S. Coast Guard is using search resources both in the air and in the water in an area about 900 miles east of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and it's about 350 miles off the coast of Newfoundland. 5 people were on board the Ocean Gate Expeditions vessel when communications were lost on Sunday. So they went down Sunday morning, and about an hour and 45 minutes after they went down, they completely lost contact with the submersible. Now, because it is completely experimental, it is not approved by any regulatory authority anywhere. The CEO of the people that own the submarine is on board, and he's not an amateur in any way, shape, or form. He's taken a sub down to the Mariana Trench, and he's flown aboard Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, so he's been into space. So it's not like he's, some desk paper pusher that just decided to get in a sub one day. He knew what he was doing, probably. The 21-foot submersible can get to a depth of 12,000 feet. It's made of titanium and carbon fiber. And it was controlled by an Xbox game controller, and we're going to come back to that. It was supposed to only be gone 6 to 8 hours, and they had 96 hours of emergency air when they went down 6 a.m. Sunday morning. Now, it's supposed to have a device that sends out its location, but that actually stopped about an hour after they went down. So if it has no power, it can't be sending out the signal, which is part of the problem, why they are having a hard time finding this submarine. And as of 1 o'clock today, 7,600 miles had been searched for the sub. Now, Canadian search planes have dropped sonar buoys listening for the sub. Any unusual sounds, they're hoping to hear tapping on the walls or voices, but nothing so far. And contact usually is extremely spotty anyways, because the Titanic is anywhere from 12,000 to 12,500 feet below the water line. So they are deep, deep down there. Now, there are a few theories that people are coming up with. The first, and maybe the most terrifying, is that they are trapped in the actual wreckage of the Titanic, which is the worst case scenario, because if they are trapped down there, they went down there, they got caught on something, then they are just unfortunately going to suffocate to death. There's just no way to get out from that. The other theory is that they sprung a leak, and if that were the case, they would be crushed immediately. Where the Titanic sits is 6,000 PSI. And it takes anywhere from 75 to 115 PSI to kill a human. So if they sprung a leak, that was almost an immediate death. Otherwise, if they come to the surface, they could be at the surface. So a man who went down, let's find his name, David Pogue, has been in that sub before. So it's gone down before. It might be experimental, but it was not its first rodeo going down on Sunday. He's been in it, and he says there are multiple different ways for this submarine to come up to the ocean top. It's got air balloons, it's got propellers. So if it hasn't popped up to the surface of the ocean, it means it's caught on something, because it had 1,000 ways to get up to the top of the ocean. The problem is that if it's gotten to the surface and it's just bobbing there, they're still not home free. And the reason they're not home free is because they are bolted into the submarine from the outside, meaning they can't get out until somebody finds them and unbolts them. And it's airtight. They still only have a limited amount of oxygen. Yeah, we're going to continue talking about that. I've got more details coming up. This is the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
Weather brought to you by ProTech Air Conditioning and Plumbing Services. This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Connected to our community. Talk local issues and events with Joe Kelley. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let Joe know what interests you. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
Or Laurel Lee. Let Laurel Lee know what interests you, because I am Laurel Lee. I'm in for Joe Kelley today, and you can use that open mic feature in our WDBO app to join the show. Talk to me. Tell me what you think about what we're talking about. And we have a lot on our radio plate today. We're talking about former President Trump and the update in his case with the classified documents. We're talking about that submarine that has disappeared up near Massachusetts while trying to tour the Titanic. We're also talking about Hunter Biden and the federal charges against him. Hunter Biden, the son of President Biden, has agreed to plead guilty to tax charges and a gun charge. According to the agreement, the president's son will plead guilty to a pair of misdemeanor tax charges involving about $1 million in unpaid taxes several years ago. Federal prosecutors in Delaware will drop the felony charge against Hunter Biden for possessing a firearm while being a user of illegal drugs if he completes a 2-year probation.
That is a felony, lying on your form for guns. That is a true felony. And we are talking about it like it's nothing and it's going to be dropped. Who else in the entire country can get a felony gun charge dropped like it's littering or something?
Well, for what it's worth, our other talker, Eric Erickson, was talking about this earlier today, and he was a lawyer. He went to law school and was a lawyer for a time. And for what it's worth, he said this is pretty normal for them to be able to use this probation and get it dropped. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. You can ask Eric Erickson about that. But speaking of guns, we're talking about Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who is proposing legislation that would require firearm dealers to sell a gun lock for every gun purchase made. It's kind of a compromise in the fight over the Second Amendment. And a lot of you are already saying, hey, my gun did come with a gun lock. What is she talking about? Well,
on the subject of Rashida Tlaib, there's no compromise. These rights shall not be infringed upon.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. Then we've got, let's see, that's about a poll. Let's go to this gun open mic.
A loaded gun for your protection. How are you supposed to protect yourself when you got to look for the key to unlock the gun?
The same argument could be made about putting it in a safe, though, right? I mean, your gun shouldn't just be out in the open. If you have littles around, particularly, I mean, the same could be said about your safe, right? Unless it's a coded safe. Well, now you've got me thinking about this a lot. Moving on, we were talking about the submarine that's messing off of the coast of Massachusetts and Newfoundland. It went down to look at the ruins of the Titanic. A pilot is on board with 4 other passengers. The billionaire, the CEO of OceanGate Expeditions, was the one piloting this. Now, OceanGate Expeditions operates small subs for research, film production, and tourist trips to the Titanic for a price tag of $250,000. Private companies' ships are also helping look out for this sub that's gone missing, and they're rushing to the scene. One of the problems is that there's only a limited number of subs that can even go down as low as this sub can. So even if by some miracle they find a ping, they're like, hey, we hear tapping, we need somebody to go down. They need the Navy or some other people that have submarines that can get as low as 12,000 feet to get down there and try to find it. So they're scrambling. A lot of people are coming to try to find and help find these 5 souls aboard. One of the deepest water rescues ever performed was the Pisces 3 back in 1973, and that was only at a depth of 1,500 feet. 1,500 feet, and they could be as low as 12,000 feet. The other thing is that they knew where the Pisces 3 was when it went down. It had broken off of its ship, and it sank right where it's at, and they just have no idea where the Titan is. So they're searching the ruins, but at the same time, the ocean is so vast that if the Titan came up on board and was bobbing on the surface of the ocean somewhere, that's a lot to look for, and they have to find them within the next 48 hours or less, because even if they're bobbing on the surface, that does not mean these 5 people are in the clear, because they cannot get out of the Titan. They are bolted into the Titan from the outside, which means that they have to find them and they have to unbolt the submarine to get all these people out before they run out of oxygen. And when they went down Sunday, they had 96 hours of reserved oxygen. They're supposed to be down there for 8 hours. They had 96 extra hours of oxygen. So we pray for all of their families. We're going to keep you updated on that story. as it continues, and just keep all their family and your thoughts and prayers as we watch that story. I'm going to move on to a story that's kind of important to me. If y'all don't know, I'm an animal lover. I'm a huge animal advocate. I worked with Pet Alliance of Orlando for a really long time. Josh, do you have a dog? Have you had a dog?
I have had one dog for the last 10 years, and that's kind of my summary with animals, yeah.
What kind of dog was it?
We asked the vet what it was when she was a puppy, and they said, we have no idea. Call it a Florida brown dog.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you know,
Heinz 57 mutt, they said.
I love it. A lot of rescues are not even labeling dogs now, particularly when they are that mixed up, for this reason. Governor DeSantis has signed Senate Bill 942 into law. This would allow governmental public housing authorities to adopt policies related to dogs, provided that the requirements are not specific to a dog's breed, weight, or size. These bills would also overturn remaining breed bans by local governments in Florida. This is important because areas like Miami-Dade County and the city of Sunrise continue to enforce breed-specific restrictions on pit bull-type dogs. Now, let me throw this out there in case y'all don't know. There is no such type of dog as a pit bull. That is not a thing. There are American Pit Bull Terriers. There are Staffordshire Bull Terriers. There are American and English Bull Dogs. There are Bull Terriers. But if you say my dog is a pit bull, that doesn't mean anything. That is a nickname given to dogs that are related to one of the breeds I just mentioned. Typically, when you see a dog that looks like an American Pit Bull Terrier or a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, that's like the type of pit bull dog you're thinking of. Okay? So first of all, they don't even exist. You're banning something that's not even a thing.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
You just taught me that right now. Wow.
And a lot of people don't. And pit bull has such a terrible connotation with it, right? A lot of people see pit bull, they think scary. They think their jaws lock, which is not a thing. You know, they think it's automatically aggressive. And thankfully, through the work of a lot of organizations, we're learning to dispel that terrible connotation. But that said, even though all of these groups and all of this research exists that shows you that pit bulls not only don't exist, but that these dogs, these American Pit Bull Terriers and Staffordshire Bull Terriers, are nanny dogs. That's what they used to be. They used to be the dogs that people would get for their children because they're so loyal and protecting and sweet. Anyways, I'm going on a tangent because, like I said, this is important to me. But cities like Miami-Dade and a lot of cities up north still ban any pit bull dogs, which, again, you're banning something that doesn't even exist. That makes no sense. So Governor DeSantis has signed Senate Bill 942 into law that would ban this. So my question to you all is, do you think this is a good idea? Immediately, my heart said, yes, of course it's a good idea. It's ridiculous that when I've had more chihuahuas bite me than pit bulls, and again, I volunteered with an animal shelter for a very long time, that, you know, why would we ban these dogs? That said, pit bulls are also one of the number one breeds that are used for dog fighting and breeding, backyard breeding, you know, breeding irresponsibly. In that context, I can see where reducing the number of people that have these dogs or can get access to these dogs is a good idea, right? Keep in mind, too, I mentioned in the beginning of this that a lot of rescues, a lot of shelters are no longer telling you what the dog might be, because half the time you get on the site and it says pit bull mix, and then they go and they do a DNA test, and it's like, oh, it's a Shepherd Lab Terrier mix. And you're like, well, that's not, it has no American Pit Bull Terrier in it at all. It just looks that way because it's a mix of a Shepherd and Lab. And they're like, right, which is why we stopped saying what it is. Instead, we're going to say, Josh, that it's a Florida brown dog, because the minute you think it might have a little bit of pit bull in it, even though it's like 2% and it's mostly German Shepherd and Black Lab, people get scared and they ban you from their apartments. Is that fair? That seems ridiculous to me, you know?
We went through exactly that when we were looking for a place for an apartment in Jacksonville. They said no dogs bigger than 50 pounds and none of these select breeds, you know, Chow, Pit, Rottweiler. And so we just said she was like a 49-pound golden retriever to kind of get under the barrier. But, I mean, she didn't hurt anybody. She was completely innocent. She was just, you know, she may have had a little bit of a bully breed head. So we kind of,
Right. She probably had a big square head that, is adorable. But, right. And so they're banning without even knowing your dog. And I know we don't have the resources to go and temperament test all dogs that may want to rent out a room in your apartment complex. But banning them just on breed alone, when, again, I've had more little dogs snap at my fingers and leave, get blood from me than I have any of these big dogs. Seems ridiculous. So let me know what you think. Is the breed bans a good idea, or do you think there's something to them when we know that the pit bull breeds are the number one breeds used for dog fighting, which is a huge problem here in America? And, we see irresponsible dog owners left, right, and center. Is that a way to combat irresponsible dog owners? Let me know what you think in the WDBO app. You can tap that open mic button in the WDBO app and talk to me here. I'm Laurel Lee, and I'm in for Joe Kelley on The Joe Kelley Show.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, the three big things you need to know.
3. Senator Bernie Sanders is kicking off an investigation into Amazon's labor practices. Sanders chairs the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions and demanded information from the company on what he called Amazon's abysmal safety record. 2. A judge has set a trial date for former President Donald Trump for his alleged mishandling of classified documents. The judge ordered the jury trial begin on August 14th, but that could be pushed back after Trump's team files their motions. 1. President Biden says he's very proud of his son Hunter. That's all the president said in response to shouted questions from reporters ahead of a meeting on AI in San Francisco.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Insightful.
You tell the truth from your point of view.
Entertaining.
Man, that guy is a lot taller than he sounds on the radio.
And engaging.
When we hear you on the radio, it's a good thing.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
Hey, Laurel. It's Frank from the Facebook live stream. Just want to say you're doing great. It's fun to watch. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Frank. That was really sweet to say. Thank you. My name is Laurel Lee. I am in for Joe Kelley today, and I'm glad to be with you all. Frank joins us on our Facebook live feed. So if you've ever liked to see the faces behind the voices, you can hop on to Facebook.com, find the WDBO page, and we're there. You can see my face. You can see Josh's face. On other days, you can see Joe Kelley's face and Paul Cross's face. They switch out every so often. So you can see if the way we are, the way you picture us in your minds, if our faces live up to it. Probably not. But, you can get your curiosity going and see if they match.
Laurel, you look exactly how I thought you did.
Yeah, thanks.
But I met you before I heard you on the air.
That's true. Yeah, you don't count. Sorry. So we're talking about a lot of stuff today. When I woke up this morning, I was like, whoa, the news world has gone bananas. Former President Trump finally has a court date for his classified documents. We were talking about that. We moved on to Hunter Biden and the federal charges against him. Wow, who saw that coming, right? Well, maybe somebody did, but we didn't at the time. We were talking about the submarine that's missing off of the coast of Massachusetts. They went down to search for the Titanic, and now 5 souls are missing, and they are in a race against time to find them before oxygen runs out in the sub. I'm claustrophobic just thinking about it. We're also talking about a proposed bill that would push gun locks. Every new gun to be sold would also be required to have a gun lock come with it. And the ones we were just talking about is a bill for dogs. A bill Governor Ron DeSantis has signed, Senate Bill 942, that would essentially do away with breed bans in any of the cities here in Florida. Miami-Dade, Sunrise, still, or at least until recently, outlawed any pit bull-type dogs, which I was explaining makes absolutely no sense. And we've got a few people that wanted to chime in on that.
I'm not sure, but I think in England you're not allowed to have a dog that is not called a pit bull. I think there's homeowners insurance companies that will not cover you if you have a Rottweiler, a German Shepherd, a Doberman Pinscher. Yeah, they play for the Boston Red Sox. Okay.
That's okay. We knew what you meant. That was good. We knew what you meant. But yeah, Stephanie in our Facebook feed said the same thing, that they might not only not cover you, but at least the prices would go up. And then we got one more here. Let's play this one.
Well, oddly enough, if you replace pit bull
with AR-15, your argument still holds true.
Yeah, okay. Pit Bull is the AK-14. AK-15. I knew that. Of the world. We're having fun here on the Joe Kelley Show. My name is Laurel Lee. We have another fun hour coming up. Join us. Talk to me. Tell me what you think. And we're going to have some fun. This is the Joe Kelley Show here on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Breaking news to lively debates, covering the issues that matter to you.
I make it a point to listen to Joe Kelley when I need to fully understand what's happening in the news.
Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
Hello, my name is not Joe Kelley. It is Laurel Lee.
Great job, Laurel Lee, as always. I'm sure, hope Joe Kelley's okay. Not sure what happened.
Thank you very much. Joe Kelley is okay, and he will be back with you very, very soon. If any of you follow Joe Kelley's Facebook, then you know this story. But he went in. He was supposed to be gone last week because he was getting surgery for an implant that was going to go into his back that was going to help with some nerve pain that he's had in his legs since he was a kiddo, and he battled cancer twice. Well, he went into the hospital. And they were getting him all ready to go, checking out, make sure all his vitals were good. And they said, oh, hold on, your heart sounds a little funky and your lungs sound a little funky. And it turns out that he had fluid in his lungs. He had pneumonia. They think he's had it since he went on vacation in Colorado months ago. Turns out he had like the equivalent of a 2-liter bottle of soda in his lungs. He's just been walking around the radio station with that in his lungs, doing this show with fluid just sitting, sloshing around in his lungs. So needless to say, his surgery's been put on hold and he's been recuperating. He's back. He's home already. He's with his wife, and he's doing all right. He just didn't quite have, he just wasn't 100%. And when he comes to you all, he wants to be 100%. So they called me and said, Laurel Lee, can you please fill in for another day while Joe recoups just a little bit more? And I said, absolutely. We've got a ton to talk about. We were talking about Hunter Biden and the federal charges against him. That broke early this morning. We were talking about President Trump, and we were talking about how he finally has a date for his federal charges against him that has to do with the classified documents. We mentioned that a new poll came out, and President Trump has been the front runner for the presidential primaries, and it was 53% of Republicans say they were going to support him as of last month. Now it's down 47%, and we got this open mic about polls.
Sometime at the beginning of last year was the first time I've ever received a call in regards to doing a poll. And since then, I've been asked 2 other times.
How interesting. So that, like, if you're on the pollsters' radars, then they got you there, and they know to come to you because you'll answer their questions. Maybe that's it. Maybe you got to get your foot in the door. And once you get your foot in the door once, they'll know to come to you all the time. I don't know. I've never been asked personally, but I know a few people would have, including Joe Kelley last time he brought this up. As soon as he was done talking about it, somebody reached out to him randomly, apparently, and said, hey, will you give us your opinions on politics? And he said, absolutely. And then we brought them on the show, and we talked to them on the show and got some insight on polling. That was pretty darn cool. We're also talking about a submarine that has completely disappeared with 5 souls aboard. Ocean Gate's The Titan went down Sunday to do a tour for a few people of the Titanic wreckage, and they haven't been heard from since. They stopped responding to any communications. Their ping that was supposed to tell the mothership where it was went away about an hour and 45 minutes into their dive.
I don't understand with the submarine. Where is its support ship? Wouldn't it be over the submarine, at least within like a mile distance?
Yeah, you would think so. But like I said, because they stopped communicating with them, they don't have any idea where they went, and they don't know why. I heard a reporter ask one of the Coast Guard lead. The Coast Guard gave an update a few hours ago, and they said, hey, it seems that there was 8 hours between when the mothership lost connection. And when they contacted you, what was that about? And, they were really political about it, frankly. They gave kind of a no answer. And they aren't giving many details. You all asked me this question. If I can pull it up here. Come on, click the right thing. There it is.
Wouldn't there be a way for us to be able to refill their tanks with air with a robot that can go down that deep? I mean, we have the technology.
You would think so. I would think so. I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm not in the Navy. I'm not in the Coast Guard. I think the number one challenge, obviously, is to find it. They have no idea where it is. They don't know if it's stuck in the wreckage of the Titanic. That's one of the theories, that it went down there and it got caught in a fishing net or in part of the wreckage, and they just can't maneuver and they can't get out of the wreckage. And if that's the case, you would think that they would be able to find them soon, right? If they went missing looking at the Titanic, you would think that they're down there looking at the Titanic, seeing if they can't find them. One of the problems is there aren't a lot of subs available that can go down as deep as this could. This was an experimental sub. Not many submarines can go down to the 12,000 feet, the 12,500 feet that the Titanic sits at. So I know that the Navy was rushing there with their submarines to try to get there to them. One of the other theories is that a leak sprung. One of the men that was on this sub previously, named David Pogg, said that he was kind of surprised that it was almost haphazardly put together, at least in his experience. It looked like it wasn't, the most professional, well-built thing in the world. When they pulled out an Xbox controller to control the sub, he was a little like, oh, what am I in? What is happening, And a lot of people have said the minute I heard submersible, experimental submersible, they would run the other way. Me too, frankly. But these people did it. They thought, heck, yeah, if I get to go see the Titanic, I'm going to go see it. If a leak was sprung in the Titan, then the occupants would have been crushed immediately. They would have died immediately. And that's almost, albeit, obviously we want to find them safe. If that is not the option, that would be the second best option, because death would be immediate. The other options have them waiting until they run out of oxygen to die, which is terrifying. If they're stuck in the Titanic, they can only wait and think, and that's horrifying to think about. The other option is that they have come up to the surface somewhere, and they are floating somewhere in the ocean, and they just haven't found them yet. Someone told me they're using Starlink satellites to try to find the submersible, but if it has no power, which is why it's not sending out any communications, then there's no way to find it, right? Because it's not pinging anything. If they are to the surface of the ocean, they are still not out of danger. They are not out of danger because they are bolted into the submarine, which is airtight. Only someone from the outside of the submarine can unbolt them and get them out and get them into the fresh air of the world. So they could be on the surface of the ocean still with a time limit on them. So everybody's rushing. Everybody's trying to find these 5 souls, and we are certainly praying for them, hoping that they will be okay and they are found in time. This is a story that has captured the attention of the whole entire country, if not the world. It is all over the social medias. So we are obviously going to keep you up to date as that continues on. Another big story we're talking about today is Governor DeSantis signing Senate Bill 942. This would allow government public housing authorities to adopt policies related to dogs, but the requirements are not going to be specific to a dog's breed, weight, or size. Josh was telling us that when he moved into an apartment, his apartment said, you cannot, have a dog above 50 pounds, right?
Right, or a select handful of breeds. I believe they were Rottweiler, Pit Bull, Chow. That's all I can remember from now. They must be some of the aggressive breeds, or maybe have the reputation for being aggressive.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the problem, is that a lot of this is just based on reputation, right? They've done studies and found that the dogs that are most likely to lash out and bite you for no reason are Chihuahuas, which if you've known some Chihuahuas, you know why. Those things are scary. I love all dogs, but this would also not allow breed bans anymore. Places like Miami-Dade County and Sunrise here in Florida, up until recently, did not allow any pit bull type dogs. If you lived within Miami-Dade County, you were not allowed to have a pit bull dog. Pit bull is not a real thing. As I was explaining before, in case you didn't know, pit bull is a made-up word. It is for any dog that looks like an American Pit Bull Terrier, that looks like a Staffordshire Terrier, that looks like it might have Bull Terrier in it. It is not a real breed. It is not a real thing. It is a word made up to scare people into what would be considered a scary dog, even though they have been proven over and over again. Research has shown that these are not aggressive dogs compared to other breeds of dogs. So DeSantis has said that it's no longer. And I was asking you all if you think that this is a good idea, that breed bans should go away because there's no real scientific fact for them. I also offered the opinion that maybe to stop dog fighting, because pit bulls tend to be the dogs that are targeted for dog fighting, maybe there is some room for the argument of breed bans being a useful tool. You guys are chiming off in the open mic section of the WDBO app.
Pit bulls kill more humans than the next breed of dog by a wide margin. I've had senior cats, 2 of them, over the years, killed by pit bulls, and my dog's constantly attacked. There's nothing a pit bull can do that a normal dog can't do, and it's crazy that you compare a Chihuahua bite to a pit bull bite.
Well, you said it yourself. There's nothing a pit bull can do that a regular dog can't do. And no, I would agree. I don't compare a Chihuahua's bite to a pit bull's bite, but compare a pit bull's bite to a German Shepherd or a Labrador Retriever or a Rottweiler or a Poodle, or they have the same head size. Well, some of them are bigger skulled, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just because the dog's smaller doesn't mean a lab will kill your cat just as fast as a pit bull will kill your cat. Now, some dogs have higher prey drive than other dogs. Absolutely. And it is on the people then. It is on you as an owner to control that dog. You have a dog above 50 pounds, it is on you to keep that dog leashed. It is on you to make sure your dog is not free roaming. And it's not the dog's fault. I don't think you should ban breeds when it's humans that we should be, controlling here. It's not, I should not be allowed to own a pit bull as a responsible dog owner because my neighbor is a dummy that doesn't know how to fence in their dog. Is that fair? Because I don't think so. That's the same argument as you are not allowed a gun because the guy down the street wants to shoot up a school. Is that fair? No, right? I have somebody who agrees with me here. It says,
I could not agree with you more. I think I've been bitten by more small dogs than any other dog. I haven't even been bitten by a pit, and I've owned 2, and I've had kids around them. And they are the sweetest and nicest dogs ever.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I do feel for anybody that's had a cat or a dog attacked by their neighbor's dog. But I would say place the blame where it's supposed to lie. That's on your neighbors. That's on the dog owner and not on the dog itself. Tell me what you think. Use the open mic feature in the WDBO app. We're talking breed bans. We're talking submarines. We're talking Hunter Biden. It's the Joe Kelley Show here on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. Join the conversation now by using the open mic in the WDBO app. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
Hey there, my name's Laurel Lee. I'm in for Joe Kelley today. We've been talking about a lot of heavy stuff, and so instead I want to pivot a second and read you something that might make you smile. It might make you frustrated, depending if you're a parent that has crafty children. But let's see where this goes. So a schoolboy has been dubbed a bona fide genius after he deceived teachers on Zoom for months. One lad came up with an ingenious way to dodge any questions in class, and it took weeks for the teacher to notice. TV presenter Chris Arnold tweeted, "My wife is a teacher, and apparently one kid has been changing his name to Reconnecting during Zoom lessons so that he doesn't get asked any questions. He's been doing it for weeks. The lad doesn't need to worry about his education. He's already a bona fide genius." And so when he tweeted that, people were not only getting a hoot out of it, but a lot of them were like, oh my gosh, I have a similar story. One dad posted, "My son had some of his friends. They set a loop of moving images of themselves staring at the computer screen as their profile picture." Another one said, "Lots of kids having private chat rooms to cheat on tests or in case someone gets caught on in a lesson and they weren't paying attention." Another parent said, "Sounds like my son thinking I was clever turning off the Wi-Fi to get him off of his Xbox. He was one step ahead of me and connected his mobile hotspot from his phone to his Xbox and has been playing for hours." Another post said, "We've seen buffering," like the kids type their name as buffering instead of reconnecting. Also, kids setting their names to the name of another kid in class and then posting rude comments in the chat to get their friends in trouble. Who knew all these problems would pop up when the pandemic hit? And we're like, that's fine. We'll do Zoom classrooms. It'll be great. We had no idea how ingenious kids would get. They said now you can't prove it because there's multiple kids with the same name in the class, so you don't know who posted it. One teacher replied, "Last summer, a kid set his profile to a photo of 3/4 of his face staring at the camera with a background of a wall in his room. It's mandated that the cameras are on during class, but you couldn't tell if his was on or off. And if you're going to do that good of a job being awesome, I'm not going to stop you." These are like 13 and 14-year-old kids. How do they get so crafty? I was telling my coworkers that my daughter has, of course, as kids do, she's got their phone and her tablet and the Nintendo Switch. And, she was forgetting to do some homework. Well, forgetting, I'm going to put that in quotes, forgetting to do some homework. And we'd get the missing assignment alert and we'd say, "Hey, what's going on? Why isn't your assignment done?" And she'd make up some excuse, whatever. Anyways, we found out that she was fibbing. So we're like, okay, that's it. Tablets in, phones in, any of your electronics in until the homework gets done. So she disappears into her room for hours, and we're like, oh, she must be getting work done. And she comes down and she starts talking the way they do. She's 14, by the way, talking about whatever. And she's like, "And then I saw on YouTube, da-da-da-da-da-da." Hold on. What? YouTube? Did you just say YouTube? How are you on YouTube? "Oh, well, my Chromebook can connect to YouTube." They always have a device. They somehow, in every little corner of the room, they have a device, and they know how to get on the YouTube. Any other parents have those problems with the Zoom classrooms with something sneaky going on? Oh, my gosh. Meanwhile, in Russia, that was a weird pivot, right? Meanwhile, in Russia, Putin's staffers are drinking a lot. Vladimir Putin's stressed-out staffers have been hitting the bottle harder than ever since the start of the Ukrainian war. According to a new report by the independent Russian-language news website Verska, alcoholism has been increasingly commonplace among Putin's cronies. A source said, "Let's put it this way. Previously, not everyone within the president's administration would start the day with a glass of vodka. Now I know many more people who do, and for some, a glass has turned into a bottle." So it's not a peaceful place right now among Putin, if you had any hesitation that it might be. You're listening to The Joe Kelley Show. My name is Laurel Lee. We have more coming up next here on WDBO.
Weather brought to you by ProTech Air Conditioning and Plumbing Services. This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Talk and discussion on the latest breaking national news.
Crude oil prices continue to fall.
Local news.
You're not going to have Disney have its own government in Central Florida.
And stories that matter to you. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let your voice be heard on The Joe Kelley Show.
Well, thank you all for joining me this evening. My name is Laurel Lee. I'm in for Joe Kelley, and I'm happy to be here with you all. We've been talking about a whole lot of things, from President Trump's new court date for his classified documents case to President Biden's son, Hunter Biden's federal charges against him. We've been talking about the submarine that's gone missing while looking at the ruins of the Titanic, and we're keeping you updated on that and a whole lot of other things. Now to this story. The U.S. Armed Forces are missing their enlistment goals. All of them. The U.S. military is having a hard time filling its ranks. The Army, Navy, and Air Force will all miss their enlistment goals for the 2023 fiscal year. The Army and Air Force will fall about 10,000 recruits short of its goal, while the Navy will miss its mark by 6,000. Only the Marine Corps will reach its goal of 29,000 new recruits. The Defense Department is trying to expand overall military enlistment by 12,000 this year. So my question to you is why? Why do you think this is happening? Now, I have kids who fall into the Gen Z classification, and I know a lot of Gen Zers. And I often hear a lot of anti-American talk, right? In fact, I was in England a few months ago, and while we were sitting at a bar eating breakfast, I overheard a gentleman next to the man next to me. And he turned to the guy and he said, "Hey, are you from England?" And he said, No, I'm from Scotland, I believe he was. And he said, "Oh, I'm from North Carolina. I'm from the United States." And he starts going on this tirade to the Scot about how terrible America is and how everything is extraordinarily expensive. And he can't afford the house that he bought. He has to live in there with his girlfriend and his best friend because he can't afford it. And he wants to move out of the United States. And it's awful. It's awful. It's awful. And I've heard this before from other Gen Zers. Now, I'm a millennial, and maybe some of the millennials have been saying it as well. I don't know. No millennials I hang out with have been saying this. I've only been hearing it from those younger than me, but I'm not excluding millennials as well. When I was a kid, when you saw a veteran, when you saw somebody in uniform, there was nothing but respect for them. Like, they were heroes, right? And I compare that to all this anti-American hate I hear now from the Gen Zers. Do you think that's part of the problem? Do you think that's why the U.S. Armed Forces can't get their enlistment goals up? Do you think that these kids no longer see America as something worth fighting for? It's only something to rally against? I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe is it just something as simple as pay? You know, they don't think that they're going over there and risking their lives or the pay for it is worth it now. They would rather try to be an artist on Etsy. I don't know. Let me know what you think. We have the open mic button in the WDBO app. I'd like to know. Because honestly, I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss as to what the answer is. So I'd like to know what you think. My name's Laura Lee. I'm here for Joe Kelley while he recuperates from pneumonia. He should be back with us very, very soon. I want to pop over to something else while I get your answers about the military enlistment. There is something called AITA on Reddit, reddit.com. And it stands for Am I the Jerk? Except, it's AITA, so you fill in the blanks. Anyways, people come on this website and they give situations and they ask the internet as a whole, am I the jerk in this situation or am I right? And so I'd like to give you some of those situations now. See what you think. Is this person the jerk? Josh, I'm going to ask you first. I've got a few of these situations here. So let's start with this one. If I pulled it up right. First, I've got to pull it up. There it is. Okay. That's what happens when you have a lot of papers. Okay. This gentleman says, I recently won a large sum of money. I won't say exactly how much, but it's in the millions. My ex-wife is the mother of my 2 children. She's an amazing woman and good to the bone. We divorced 6 years ago because I had an affair with my current partner. I was in a low place. I screwed up. She was incredible pain, but allows me to still see my children. She made the divorce as pain-free as possible, despite the fact that I knew she was hurting. She's still close with my parents, and she's respectful to me, although she refuses to talk to my girlfriend. She was actually the first person I phoned after my mom and pops found out I won the lottery. She was pleased for me, joked that I could take the kids on a world-round trip, but that was that, nothing else. And as soon as I won, I knew that I wanted to give her a significant amount of money. I still love her. She's the mother of my babies. I feel like that in some tiny way I can show her that I'm not a complete mess up. She deserves to know that I care despite my mistakes. She also works a crappy job at a public library that pays peanuts. And she would actually be able to pursue her hobbies that way, give the kids a better life. Long story short, when I told my girlfriend, she was livid, screaming that I'm disrespecting her, accusing me of still being in love with my ex-wife. I'm not in love with her. We've both grown apart, but of course I still feel love for her. My girlfriend is threatening to break up with me. Am I the jerk for wanting to give my ex-wife so much money? What do you think, Josh? Is he the jerk?
No, he is not by any means the jerk. No? I think the history that you have, the kids that you have, the way maybe that first relationship ended, he has some regret. Not that this is going to fix everything, but it might be able to chip away at the monkey on his conscience for the way he handled his first relationship. And with the kids, I mean, you kind of take care of the kids as well. Take care of her. She's helping raise your kids. The girlfriend of 6 years can go eat chalk or whatever the expression is.
Whatever that expression is. Okay, so now this is going to be hard for you because you're a guy with one of the purest hearts I've ever met.
Oh, sure.
But put yourself in the position of the girlfriend, right? You met your partner. He broke up with his wife to be with you. And now he's like, well, she's the best person I've ever met. I want to give her a bunch of this money that I've just won. Would you feel jealous? Would you be like, what the heck? You're not with her anymore.
To the best of my ability, I will put myself in this new girlfriend's shoes. And they're probably uncomfortable because they're probably too small. But no, I don't think I would be jealous. I would realize the history they have, the bonds that they have. While they're not so connected now, they are still, there's still a history, and they were such a part of each other's lives that if he sees this as making and improving her life, I would not think that's a problem. As long as you're still committed to me.
Yeah,
right?
You know what though? The way he wrote, and this is like totally third party, but the way he wrote, I'd be like, I feel like you still are in love with her. Like she's the best person I've ever. She's good to the bone. I'm like, maybe that's the real problem. There is that the way he talks about her. I think he messed up and he knows it.
Yeah, well then that's something they can work out between the new relationship. Don't take it out on the mom of the kids.
At least she's still the girlfriend though, not married, right? Because otherwise, like that girl has no right to his money.
There better be a prenup in that one. That next one.
Okay, how about this one? Let's see. Okay, I've been living with my friend for the last year, and we're moving out. In the current house, the couches that belong to his friends lived with him before me. So this guy moved into this apartment, and there were couches there, right? And he's like, all right, what cool. And, this couch is in the living room. He had to take these couches to the tip, which is from Australia. I think the tip's the dump. So they're all moving out. And to dispose of the couches cost him like $250. None of them belonged to me, but he asked me to put some money towards the bill because I had used the communal couches while I lived there. I argued against it, saying that I didn't realize we were charging each other for the use of each other's stuff. In that case, I should charge him an interest for fairness of using my communal beanbags, my communal cleaning items, my communal Xbox controller. All of these, I feel, hold more weight because I actually own them. The couches weren't even his. They were his friends that just left them there when they left. He argues that it's not fair to him to cop the whole bill because the couches aren't really his. They were the previous housemates, and I used the couches while I lived there. I think it wouldn't be fair on me because they don't belong to me at all. So should he pay that guy money for having to dump the couches that were there when he got there? Even though he sat on them a few times?
Sometimes situations suck, and it's worth $250 to get those kind of people out of your life, I think.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, it wasn't even, he didn't even ask him to pay $250. It was like more like $50. Could you chip in $50? And that's mostly what the rest of the comments said. They're like, for the sake of just getting out and getting on with their lives, pay him the $50.
Yeah, what you do is you give your friend $50 and you never put money in a pot with him ever again.
Right? Or you next time you move in together, you're like, okay, let's settle this right now.
Yeah.
When we move out, how are we going to handle
Refer
this?
to a prenup from the last conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
Dear best friend, the right half of the couch is yours, the left half of the couch is mine. If you spill on it and there's coffee, you're paying for the cushion.
Exactly. Okay, one more quick one before we go to break. I was sitting in my math class and my friend moved his desk from where it was supposed to be. So it was behind me to the left. I turned to show my other friend, who was usually directly behind me, something on my phone, lightly tapped the laptop, which was precariously positioned near the edge of the desk in my space, wobbled, fell to the ground, caused the hinges to break. I don't think I'm 100% liable because he violated my right to personal space by moving his desk, and he's blaming me and telling me I am 100% responsible because I broke it. I disagree because he moved the desk. He was in my space, and he knew the risks of bringing an expensive item to public school. He wanted me to pay $450 for a replacement, saying he looked many places and they said they couldn't fix it with it needing to be completely replaced. When I looked for 10 minutes, I found a place that could fix the broken parts for nearly half the price, yet he still wants me to pay him 100% the $450. So, should he pay him, or he's like, no, jerk, you were in my elbow space. Why'd you put your laptop there?
Oh, man. This is the reason Judge Judy had job security.
Yeah,
so
she's
finite.
got a lot of money now. Yeah, she's good at making these decisions.
Yeah, it's like you were the one. You knew you had the Macintosh sitting right there. It's not your fault. He has big elbows. You knew that when you signed up sit next to him. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we'll say it's the guy with the laptop's fault.
Yeah, I think give him some money. Give him $100.
Yeah.
Be like, look, I'm sorry. you figure out where to take that $100 and use it the best you can. Don't bring your expensive stuff to school, all right? All right, get at me at the open mic feature in the WDBO app. Tell me why you think the military cannot meet their enrollment goals. Is it Gen Z? Do they hate America? Or is there some other thing that I'm not thinking of because I'm not in the military and I don't know how it all works? Let me know using the WDBO app. My name is Laurel Lee. I'm in for Joe Kelley. This is The Joe Kelley Show.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. In-depth segments on topics that matter to Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I love your show every night. You're doing great, bud.
He's responsible for his laptop. A gun owner is responsible for their gun. A dog owner is responsible for their dog. Responsibility, people. It's in.
It's in. Take responsibility for your dog, for your choices, and for your happiness. It has been wonderful being with you. My name is Laurel Lee. This has been The Joe Kelley Show here on WDBO.
Did you hear you could save up to 25% off grocery store prices at BJ's Wholesale Club?
Did you say save up to 25% at BJ's?
Yeah, save up to 25% at BJ's.
Whoa, that's like saving up to 1/4 of... Ugh, that's gonna leave a mark.
BJ's, absurdly simple savings. Shop today. Not a member? Go to bjs.com/simple savings.